Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning, live edition of Matthews in the Morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios, locations across the state of Florida, right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Go check them out. International Diamond Center. Also, Comfort Temp Heating and Air is your #1 local HVAC company. Go visit them at comforttemp.com. We'll have JC. He's going a little late today, so that'll be a fine. Get a little pink slip. Let him know how much it cost. And then we'll have Mike Morgan. We'll get his thoughts. He called the Missouri-Auburn game. I'm not sure which game he's calling this week, but we'll get his thoughts on what's going on in the landscape of college football. And in the meantime, if you missed it last night, the NBA started, believe it or not. I'm flipping through the channels and I didn't even realize the NBA started, and I watched a little bit of the Thunder and the Rockets. Mike Tirico, I think, is an outstanding broadcaster. I think he can do it all. I've never heard him do play-by-play, and he was doing play-by-play in basketball. It's quite interesting. I don't even know who won those games. So, all right. So here is a couple of texts while we wait on JC. This is someone in the 917 area code. Says this search firm worked to hire Sark and DeBoer. There's a reason we're using them. All right. Yeah. And then this text here is asking me, what about Rhett Lashley? I think he's a good coach. I think he'll be at Arkansas or he'll stay at SMU. Doesn't move the needle for me. And oh gosh, this text, we'll have to get this. This is a summertime talking about, can someone describe the process for SEC football scheduling? How far in advance do they project? I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to do that in the summertime. That's a good summertime topic. In the meantime, Gators on a bye week, practicing this week. There's been a lot of talk about who's calling the plays. Did get it confirmed. Ryan O'Hare, the quarterback coach, will be calling the plays. I don't know what that means because everybody wanted Russ Callaway calling the plays, and Billy Gonzalez lets Ryan O'Hare, who didn't even wear a headset until this game coming up, to call the plays. So it's going to be interesting, but they got some time to figure out what they want to do for the Georgia Bulldogs. Whoops, sorry about that. Trying to pull up the Facebook Live questions here. Greg says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, will Lane sign the extension at Ole Miss that Sexton is preparing? I would say no. Andy says, Shane, did you hear that the Ravens have removed all their recreation stuff from their locker room because of their 1-5 start? Like that has anything to do with it. They got half their teams hurt. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So I guess that's what John Harbaugh and the staff have decided to do. I don't even know what they had in their locker room. But anyway, MSRK, we're still waiting on JC. He'll be here in just a second. MSRK says it doesn't matter who's calling the plays with the below average O-line and a QB that can run and is inaccurate. The results are not going to change much. Well, we shall see. 31 M. Burr says, has anyone, JC, good morning. You're on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Since it wasn't very long, JC, that's only about
okay.
That would be like a $275 fine in the football league.
That's piece of cake.
31 M. Burr has a good question here. You answer it first, JC.
All right, let's try.
Has anyone ever speculated on a top coach going to Ole Miss? Of course not. Ole Miss ain't like us.
I mean, no, Mississippi is not like Florida. There are so many differences. It just depends on what he wants. And here's the thing, QB, they're going to go throw more of your hard-earned money on some ridiculous search firm. We already know who they want. The boosters have told him who they want. Everybody on this show, which is the most important thing going, knows who they want. Okay? The question is going to be, will he say yes when Mississippi is done playing the Mississippi State Bulldogs? That's the question. Then, if he says no, we can start to, and they're going to say, well, maybe we use the search firm to find somebody in case he says no. So listen, it's just more money out the door. Who cares, right? They've got unlimited money over there. So let's just go ahead and spend it on a search firm we don't need, because we already know who they want. The question is going to be, will he say yes? Is this going to be another Lane Kiffin power hour here, QB? Is that what we're going to do?
No, I mean, I'm just reading the questions here.
Yeah.
Go Gators wants to know, do I think Joe Brady would be interested in the UF job? What do you think of his choice? I think Joe Brady's doing a great job for the Buffalo Bills. Why would he want to be a college football coach?
I don't think
That's
so.
what I look.
Now QB Ryan Grubb, he left the Seahawks to come to college.
Because he was going to get fired. He was pushed out. He was only there 1 year. And you got to remember, him and Kalen DeBoer have been hooked at the hip.
Yes.
Everywhere they've coached.
Kind of surprised me why he took the Seahawks to begin with.
Well, some guys want to dabble into the National Football League, and sometimes
he lived in Seattle too. Yeah, he lived in Seattle. Maybe he didn't want to move.
Would you rather? This is a really good question, though. Would you rather be the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, or we're taking Ryan Grubb out of it. Would you rather be the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks or the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Oh,
that's a different animal.
Such a different job description, QB.
Yeah, that's a different deal. I would go Alabama over the Seahawks.
You just have to want to be college football. You want to have to be a college football coach.
Well, Alabama kind of runs itself.
It does sell itself. No doubt about it. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you like to talk about today, JC?
Well, listen, man, I'm all in on our guy LK, and I think Florida is his. I think what I'd like to see is 5 games played, a great effort against Georgia. I'd like to see these players try to basically stick their film on a resume, basically in these next 5 games. Do they
want to play hard? They always play hard,
right? Do they want to be Florida Gators, or do they want to start looking around and sniffing what's across the street? I hope not. I hope these guys stay. But like you said, and you're absolutely right, the new guy is going to bring in his guys. And that's not just players, but coaches and staff and everybody else. So it's going to be a complete transformation. I think it's been a long time coming. I'm excited about it. I've got a lot of energy for Florida football because this is an exciting time, even though they had to make a change. The change was well overdue. It was well overdue. QB, I've got some things I've got to tell you. I just can't believe some of the things I saw in the NFL last week. And I don't want to just spend a lot of time on the NFL, but some of the things that I saw last week in the NFL and what I've seen the entire season in the NFL will blow your mind with some of these games, the way they've ended. But that 33 points in Denver the other night was just one of the most amazing things you've ever seen. They were down at 0 points, and they scored them all in the fourth quarter. I didn't know that was physically or logistically possible. But in the top 12, we've got Ohio State. They're number 1. 15 straight weeks was AP number 1. They play Penn State. I'll be at that game next week. Indiana 16-0 versus unranked teams. That's my number 2 team. They play UCLA. Texas A&M 3. First 7-0 start since 1994. Alabama 4 going to South Carolina. That's going to be a tougher game than people think. First team in SEC history to win 4 straight versus top 25 ranked teams with no bye week. That's Alabama. That's never happened before. I never knew that had happened or had not happened. They won 4 straight games versus top 25 ranked teams and had no bye mixed in. Georgia at 5, 2-0 at home under Kirby Smart, down 9 or more points entering the fourth quarter, including last weekend. Oregon versus Wisconsin coming up. They're 6-0 following losses in the Dan Lanning era. Georgia Tech at 7 versus Syracuse. Mississippi down to 8. They play at Oklahoma, only 13 points in the fourth quarter against Georgia. Miami is number 9. They will play Stanford. Louisville was their 4th home loss under Mario Cristobal as a double-digit favorite. How about that? 4th home loss under the great Mario as a double-digit favorite. I got 10 Vandy. They're playing Missouri. ESPN Game Day going to be there in Columbia. First 6-1 start since 1950. Number 11 is the Notre Dame team. I got them playing at Boston College. They beat Southern Cal 7 out of 8 times. And then BYU at Iowa State. Back-to-back 7-0 starts for the Cougars. That is a tough game. I think Iowa State might trip them up. And Vanderbilt is 5-2 against the spread. There is some college football trends for you. Rewind that if you need to get more information. If you need, if you want to rehack that 3 minutes I just gave you of a break from talking, QB.
Andrew on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, says, how about North Dakota State's coach? They always have offense. Negative. They're the last North Dakota State coach is coaching Kansas State,
Yeah.
and they're ready to run his ass out of town.
Yeah, they stay. Dougie Cook says, JC, why do you want to keep the current players here? I mean, look, there's 3 or 4 or 5 guys. I don't know who the new coach is going to keep and who he's not going to keep. But I don't dislike the players over here. I think they play damn hard. Have you seen that defense play, Duck? That defense has kept this team in these games when the offense, which I think is ranked 13th in the league, couldn't get a first down, dude. So I don't think all the players are so bad. But, yeah, the new coach is definitely going to bring in some new guys, right, QB? I mean, you said this.
Yeah. MSRK, this is a simple answer.
All right.
YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Here's a question. Who is the highest paid Gator athlete?
DJ Lagway.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Very, very easy.
Yeah.
I mean, they went all in on him, and I think he's a fine guy, a fine player, I guess. He's had some slow starts, let's be honest, but he's not healthy. Let's talk about that too. I don't know what his plan is, but I'm not worried about him. I just want the team to play well. I guess it does start with him, but if he plays well, they've got a chance. If he doesn't, they're dead. So we'll see. I remember last year against Georgia, QB. Everybody remembers last year against Georgia. Everybody tells me, if DJ didn't get hurt in that Georgia game, if only DJ didn't get hurt in that Georgia game, they may have beaten the Bulldogs. And it was a 14-point game, but it's a lot closer than that.
It's interesting. I was talking to Cardozo. He has so many jobs at UF, and he goes to practice. Well, when he can go to practice, he goes. But
Big Red.
He talks to Brandon Spikes a lot, and I will tell you this. From what I've been told, Brandon Spikes thinks Tramel Jones is really good.
You said he was really good, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it. You always talk about what you see with those 2 eyes of yours.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell, right? You can tell if these guys have presence. You can tell if they have poise. You can tell if they have the ability to see things that aren't there and then deliver. Hitting these windows is tight, man. It's tough to do. Yeah.
All right, so
give him a shot. I say give him a
BCS
shot.
Gator says on YouTube, brought about Quality Plum. Shane, what if the Miami Dolphins job comes open? I heard Lane would be very interested. Well, the Ole Miss people tell you he won't go there because he's happy and he has a family and he loves Oxford.
So what's he got? He's got a son playing high school football. He's got a daughter who's a junior, I guess, a sorority girl, whatever. And
I think she graduates though.
I think the ex moved in. Moved to town. She moved.
We've talked about this a million times.
No, I didn't say they were together. I'm just saying she moved back to town. Did she not?
She lives in Oxford and in California. Their other daughter goes to school plays volleyball for the Trojans.
Nice. Wow.
That's not close.
No.
So look again. The decision is going to be Lane's.
But we better hire that damn firm. I mean,
but JC.
I get it. Cover your ass. I get all that. Whatever.
I mean, of course, I got to go on like 3 shows in Mississippi today because of what I said on Steve Russell's show.
Look what you did to your home state.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem. What? I love them all.
I know.
But I stated facts. There's not one thing I said that's incorrect.
So what are they all upset about?
They're upset because they still think the Ole Miss program is better than the Florida program.
Look, of course they're going to think that, QB.
I know that, but that's just moronic.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is what they think over there.
Right.
Florida people think what they think here. Mississippi people think what they think there. Alabama.
Well, I mean, I have stats to back up. I'm not talking about just football. I'm talking about the entire athletic program. There's no comparisons when you talk dollars.
You know what? Nobody cares. I don't want to talk about swimming, baseball, diving, golf. This is football.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the 3 to 4 major sports. There's no comparison. It doesn't matter. Nobody's ever going to.
Well, listen,
they have no argument.
They can compete with Florida in the baseball. They can compete with Florida in the, in anything, really. It's just.
Well, they can, but when it's the big picture is they can't. That's the facts.
Okay. Well, you get to go and tell everybody in Mississippi on Boat Bounds the show today, where there'll be 1 million people listening to you.
I can't wait because I'm not going to say anything that's not correct.
They will
because JC, as I stated on the program,
okay,
for the last 7 to 8 years, is the Ole Miss program better than the Florida program?
Look,
yes. The answer is yes.
Because Lane Kiffin's the coach. And it does.
It's that simple.
It's very logical. It's very logical. I just don't want them ripping off your number.
Was the Ole Miss program any good when Matt Luke was in charge?
Hell no. I just Houston Nutt had a nice little run. I just don't want the Pascagoula High School to paint over your beautiful.
They don't care. I could care less what they do.
You want a state title at Pascagoula.
Here's the other thing.
Hell's wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't matter, but it cracks me up. It just cracks me up.
Well, you should have fun with this. I mean, really,
I do have fun with it because the logic behind it makes no sense to me.
Well, not to you. I get it, but people in the SIP look. He's got a shirt that says "Come to the SIP." All right,
but JC, again,
yeah.
If I had not, if I had not grown up in the state and grew up in an Ole Miss family, maybe my comments and thoughts aren't accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed when I was reading some of the comments on what was on X with you yesterday, and this one guy said, "You know nothing about the Mississippi football program, and you've never been to Ole Miss or whatever."
I did. I was the 5-time Billy Brewer football camper of the year.
I mean, how do you beat that?
How do you beat that? You know what I'm going to do?
I got a deal for you, QB.
I'm going to find those plaques somewhere, and I'm going to show them.
But what I'm going to do for you, QB, is you hire me to be your agent. I'll get on the phone. They'll hire Kiffin out of there, and I'll get you up in Oxford to coach the Rebels.
No, I don't want to. I'm happy doing this podcast. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on Northwest 13th Street, Wilson Road, and coming soon to Jonesville.
Oh, man.
Anyway, we like to have fun on the program.
Well,
they get so worked up.
This is a lot of people. This is what they talk about all week long. I understand it. I really do. Here's the tweet about the revenue and the net worth of the Florida program versus Mississippi. Come on. I mean, Florida's 7 times the size of Mississippi in population alone. The school's enrollment is probably 3 times as big as – I mean, there's no comparison in the 2 schools. But on Saturday afternoon, are we talking about that crap? No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about how to get the damn football in the end zone and winning the game. That's all we talk about. And covering the spread. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow on Win with JC at 8:30. I'll be doing the show from Dallas. I'm going to Dallas, Texas. I'm going to go talk to Dak and find out,
he's playing great, by the way.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what Brian Schottenheimer and he have been able to stew together. It just really does show you. I'm telling you, QB, if anything is true today, other than it's a gorgeous morning here in Gainesville, North Central Florida, it is that coaches matter. They matter so much to these players and certainly to quarterbacks. Man, do they matter. And we wouldn't even be talking about Eli Drinkwitz if Missouri wasn't competitive and had good quarterbacks go through that program. It's all about that. And Luther Burden doesn't go to Missouri if he doesn't think he's got a good quarterback there. So, I mean, it's incredible what coaches can do to change everything, but what quarterbacks and coaches do together to create a winning atmosphere, a winning program is really a wonderful thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to have a quarterback. You can't win without a quarterback. You know that. Got it.
Brent says here, Shane, show them your offer letter from Ole Miss.
Did you get an offer letter from Florida?
They wanted. Well, yeah, I signed a scholarship, JC here.
You didn't. Oh, Doring was the walk-on. That's right. Okay. That's right. Well, shit. I mean, between you guys, all you guys, you were not thought of as a guy that was going to jump up the depth chart. Okay. Nobody knew who you were when you popped up.
Well, here's what's crazy. I've talked about it. There were 4 quarterbacks signed in my class.
Yeah. 4.
Chris Mayaka says on the Titan and Mark text line, the Ole Miss people think that Lane to Florida talk is ruining their lead up to their big game against the Sooners this week. Kind of funny. I think Oklahoma's going to win the game.
Well, it's tough. I mean, Mississippi had a tough loss against Georgia. They're going to have to get over that and end up in Norman. This conference is brutal. This conference there is nothing in any other conference remotely comparable to what they see in this conference. That's why I think in the playoffs, the SEC teams will be battle tested and much better prepared for what lies ahead than some of these other teams.
Here's a good text
Uh,
from Willis in Jackson County, Florida. I think that's up in the Panhandle.
It
He
is.
says, Shane, do you still think Florida or Alabama are the only two schools that Lane would leave Ole Miss for? I get the feeling that most Gator fans are under the delusion that other schools that still have a coach, LSU, Auburn, FSU, haven't reached out to him, and he's just ours to lose because it's Florida. UF has got to make this happen. I will say this. I still think LSU is going to come open. I think Auburn's going to come open. And I don't think Florida State, they're going to reevaluate I don't think Florida State's even an option for Lane. However, I do think LSU and Auburn are.
So LSU's buyout is unbelievable.
But I
don't know about that.
I think Lane's choices in all those schools would be Alabama's not coming open, so just throw that aside. It would be Florida, LSU, Auburn.
So you're convinced LSU's going to be open, huh?
I really do think they're going to, because I think they're going to lose this week at home to A&M, and all hell's going to break loose.
That would hurt them. Yeah. It's amazing how the time. Yeah, okay, so Brian Kelly's been there 2 years now, and this is his third.
No, he's been there as long as Billy.
He's been there as long as Billy?
Yeah, I think they were hired at the same time.
Maybe so. All right. Well, the buyout is bigger than Billy's. Well, not even close. I don't know. LSU, I don't know if they're up for throwing a $70-some-odd million check to Brian Kelly right now. I don't know about that. Who you got?
Dean says real quick, he was a 1991 grad at Florida. He says, Shane, what are we going to do if Billy Gonzalez and the Gators beat the Ole Miss Rebels in a few weeks? We're going to be happy, and we're still going to have a new coach.
I think the Gator fans will be happy to beat anybody in the next few weeks.
Okay, I'm not picking on Dean, but head-to-head does nothing. I look at bodies of work.
Yeah.
Coaching. You don't look at a head-to-head game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Now, if you played that head-to-head game 25 times and you lost every one, okay, that's a different issue. But when you lose here or there, I mean, like people said, Steve Spurrier lost 2 times in the same year to Mike DuBose.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Crazy. Yeah.
So I would take Steve Spurrier over Mike DuBose.
Oh, would you? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough choice there.
Tough choice.
Very difficult to decide that one. Well, they're running Mike Shula out of South Carolina. I could have predicted that.
They already fired him?
No, they're just trying to run him out. I could have predicted that years ago. Let's see. You've got Auburn. Hugh Freeze is asking. He's asking Auburn for a vote of confidence. What do you think of that?
Why?
Because he doesn't want to leave. He says they're this close.
Well, here's the thing, Jason. They have been close. I ain't gonna lie. They find ways to lose games.
Close.
But they're struggling, man.
They're 0-4 for the third straight year in the league, dude. I think that's true.
I think he's getting fired. Right. I think he's getting fired.
Hugh Freeze, God, I mean, it's just a turnstile these days. Why do fan bases get so eager to fire these coaches? And I think it's because of social media, with the way they see these other programs quickly turning the corner when they're down. And I think that's what this is about, because my God, the turnover in college football, especially with the head coaches, I don't know if it's ever been this active before. I don't think it ever has. It's crazy to me. All these contracts that are being bought out,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Dead money that's lying around out there is ridiculous. They're still paying money.
Wait till you see Lane's contract, regardless if it's with us or Ole Miss. Because it's going to make Kurt Signetti's look bad.
I'm just not sure it's all about the money, bro. I think it's more about where does he want to be? 10 million, 11 million, 12 million.
No, I agree. I know how coaches operate, JC. Mm-hmm. They're egomaniacs, especially the good ones. They're really good ones.
Yeah.
He can only go so there's a ceiling.
Yeah.
There's a ceiling at certain schools. That's a fact.
Okay. Well,
This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit. You put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. Future Pro Football Hall of Famer, 1984. Kenny the Snake Stabler retires after 17 seasons with the Raiders, Oilers, and Saints.
God, he was so good.
He was the old lefty.
Man, the clutch performances that guy gave us. You know, the fumble Ruski emanated from Ken Stabler pushing the ball in the end zone from behind the line of scrimmage when Oakland beat the San Diego Chargers and Tommy Prothro. I'll never forget watching that game. And Dave Casper ended up on the ball. Kenny Stabler was amazing. He was amazing. Hard to believe that he played for Bear Bryant. They never threw the ball.
Here's a question here. Art says, no. MSRK said, do you think Alex Alec Golish ends up at one of these schools.
Maybe.
I think he may end up at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Same
that's
offense.
let me tell you, that'd be a great hire for them if they lose their coach to Florida or wherever. I mean, South Florida's in the middle of it all right now. They're trying to get into a playoff. What a resume builder that would be for him.
Yeah.
He can pretty much plan on getting a big raise if they can get to the playoffs. I mean, think about the thought of South Florida, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Texas Tech. All of these teams are very live for playoff spots, dude. Think about that. It's great. I think college football is so much better today with the parity than what.
Great.
I mean, last week, QB alone, number 2, number 5, number 7, number 10, number 11, number 20, number 22, 23, and 25 all lost in the poll. They all lost. That's 9 teams in the top 25 that lost last week. You got Indiana. My God, Indiana, Vandy, South Florida, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Texas Tech, all of them can make the playoffs. Vandy is 6-1 for the first time since the 50s. First win over LSU since the 90s. This is good for college football. It is better than to have 6 teams consolidate all the power. Absolutely 1,000% better, and that's why college football is so much better.
All right, real quick, get to some things here before we get you out of here. This text on the Titan More text line from Lewis. Lewis says, Shane, if Lane is the next Gator coach, does he bring Coach O with him? Coach Orgeron. You know, they coach together. That'd be great. Oh, go get us. Go get us.
Oh, could you imagine him in the living room up there in Lake City or down there in Ponte Vedra, over there in Ponte Vedra or in Kissimmee? Oh, I think you Gainesville's got so much to offer. And listen, you come to be a Gator, either you a Gator or you a Gator bait. You understand what I'm saying? You a Gator bait. And that's another thing they got to bring back is
we're gonna get that next year. We're gonna raise hell about that.
Let's do it, QB. Let's change some things around here. I'm so happy about change around here. It's so exciting.
All right, Chris and
you ain't a Gator, you Gator bait, Shane.
Chris in Biloxi, Mississippi says, I keep seeing one of the knocks on Lane is how much he uses the portal. He has to portal more at Ole Miss. High school recruiting is no comparison to Florida. I agree.
Yeah, but per capita, they give you some athletes out of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah. Well, by the way, somebody told me this yesterday. We have the top 2 athletes in the state of Florida are committed to the Gators right now.
I mean, I don't
know who they are. I don't follow recruiting, but I was told that the top 2 players in the state of Mississippi are committed to Florida right now.
Yeah.
If that was the case, well, anyway.
I mean, we'll
JC,
see what happens.
Do you have any Peachland dental picks for the people tonight?
By the way, I went 0-2 on Monday night. Here's the amazing thing about what Lane Kiffin does if he comes in here. Without even walking into a practice or a meeting room or a field, everyone in the country will know where he's going and what he's doing and whether or not they want to play for him. It's like the Times Square thing going across. Listen, Peachland down tonight, Friday night. We'll talk about this, I guess, on Friday. We start the World Series.
We have college games tonight, though.
And we got college games. Did you have Kennesaw State last night by chance?
I didn't even know there were college games until I flipped through my channels.
I mean, so FIU and Kennesaw State were battling last night. And, you know, college football will be on every single night, except, I guess, on Sundays for the rest of the season. I mean,
well, tonight you got Middle Tennessee State and the Delaware Blue Hens.
Oh,
which they're big boy football now, and then you got Missouri State, which is big boy football now.
Yeah,
against New Mexico State.
All right, so
Barn Burners.
So Barn Burners last night, 45-26, Kennesaw over FIU, 28-27, Western Kentucky over Louisiana Tech. These are great college games. I like Delaware. I think Delaware will cover the 9.5, and I'll take the Aggies over I guess they're the Bobcats of Missouri.
No, the Missouri State Bears.
Bears. Okay, thank you. And then tomorrow night, South Alabama will beat Georgia State. And then on Friday, we'll do our picks contest for the weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow at 8:30, following Shane here on PodUp, I will be with Zach Rothrock, our wonderful producer, and we will go through some weekend games. The card this weekend looks tremendous. Not quite as good as last weekend on JC wins or win with JC. God, I get that mixed up. Freddie's killing me all the time about that. Win with JC at 8:30 after you're done with Brent Beard on this beautiful podcast.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. Come back. We have Mike Morgan. We'll talk about His
Love
thoughts
Mike.
about he called the Missouri Auburn. We'll see if he thinks Hugh Freeze gets fired.
All right,
You're
good.
watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews and more from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Landeros Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, UF Health Orthopedics. Our gridiron sponsors are Baker's Sports, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Rue's Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, and MG&A Wealth. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And if you want to advertise, give my man Freddie a call at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, you know, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Landeros Tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Miapa Latin Cafe is proud to support Gator Nation for 22 years. New location opened in Alachua. New building, same great food served with a smile. Check out one of their 5 locations today. That's Miapa Latin Cafe. Back to the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by our man Mike Morgan, who was on the call at Auburn and Missouri. Good morning. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. That one tested the voice a little bit. It's that time of year where the seasons change, and I always get a little bit of bronchitis, which is like a play-by-play guy's worst nightmare. But we're fighting through, Shane. I would not miss the Fun and Gun program.
That's right.
That is
That's right.
That is the PodUp experience.
We got lots to talk about. Well, first of all,
we do.
Let's just stick with that game for a minute. Auburn loses again. They're 0-4 in the conference for several years in a row.
Right.
Does Hugh Freeze get fired at the end of the season? Or maybe before the season?
Yeah, I don't know if he's able to last. There's a lot of things there that I think are disturbing for Auburn fans. The record speaks for itself. And by the way, I got to say, 19 consecutive sellouts. Every seat was full, 88,000 fans. And during that 19 consecutive sellout streak, they've had a losing record at home and overall. The fans, they're all in, man. I got to give it up to the Auburn fan base because you and I both know there are fan bases out there. When the going's good, they're terrific. But when the going's not good, they just check out. There's just too many other things to do. But I think it's not just the record, Shane. And I want to say this. I want to at least factor this into the equation. We all know Hugh Freeze has had some health issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem like the same guy. I covered him at Ole Miss. He does not seem like the same guy with the same energy and the same vigor. And the other thing is, of course, why do you hire Hugh Freeze? Well, you hire him because of offense, and their offense is atrocious. This could be the second straight time they've whiffed on a portal quarterback. Jackson Arnold was a 5-star kid, but he doesn't play like a 5-star. They've got two tremendous wide receivers, Singleton and Cam Coleman, that anybody would want.
Yep.
But their passing game is anemic. And so when you add all that up, and the buyout's not that big. This is not like Mark Stoops at Kentucky or Jimbo Fisher. The buyout's very manageable, just like Billy's is. So I certainly think Auburn could be added to the fray. I talked about this all summer long on the podcast. Last year was the first time since 2018, Shane. Brett Baird would love this number, but put that in his notepad. Brett does a great job. Last year was the first time since 2018 that no SEC coaches got fired. You know what that told me?
A lot
this year. The you-know-what was going to hit the fan, and it has, and we're not done yet. It's not just going to be Pittman and Napier. I think there's going to be at least 2 more.
LSU possibly. Auburn, Kentucky.
Possibly. Yeah. I think those 3 are all in play. They're all in play. I mean, look, my wife's from Kentucky. I spent a lot of time in the Commonwealth. If you were to take a referendum from the fans today on Mark Stoops, they'd be like, we're ready to move on. The only thing that's preventing that from happening right now is the buyout.
It's huge, isn't it?
It's massive. It's in the 40s. So, but you know how that is. You round up the big boosters, not the guys that give $100 a year, and you say, well, how important is it to you to make a change? Well, how big a check are you willing to write? That's how these things get done. And I have no idea if who and what makes that is going to make that happen if it does happen in Lexington. But yeah, I mean, they've gone south, and Mark Stoops flirting with the A&M job, that didn't help matters at all. So you've got a lot of fan bases in the SEC right now that are not happy at all. I didn't even mention South Carolina, and I think
that one too is going to open up, I bet.
Well, I think Shane has enough goodwill that he's going to be around next year. You have a new AD. I'm not sure if he wants to just like roll right in there in year 1 and make a change. But they're going to fire their offensive coordinator, Mike Shula. I'm pretty much guarantee you that. So you're going to have at least a couple more head coaches that get fired. You're going to have some coordinators that get fired, or as I like to call it, the get out of jail free card. Right? When you fire a coordinator, that's your way of saying, "Hey, it ain't my fault. It's this guy." So you've got a lot of fan bases in this league that are unhappy, and I'll tell you what adds to it, Shane. When people look at what Clark Lee is doing at Vanderbilt in the top 10, when people look at what Eli Drinkwitz is doing at Missouri, top 10, I don't know exactly where they are. They should be top 10. If they beat Vandy, they'll be in line for a playoff bid. And of course, the ultimate is Kurt Signetti at Indiana. Mm-hmm. And they say fan bases across the country, including the one that is watching this show every day, say, well, what the hell? They just got some cat from James Madison and took a perennial loser, and he's going to make back-to-back playoff games with 2 different portal quarterbacks in 2 years. And they say that is, and where we're at, that's unacceptable. I get it. Like, there's a lot of unhappy fan bases.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears to the Gators. Gators looking for a new coach. Give me Mike Morgan's thoughts on who you think will be the next Gator coach.
Shane, this is the easiest no-brainer, and you've been all over this. I gotta say, and it's not just because you and I are friends. People don't understand how lucky they are to have this show, because you give the insight of a former player, not just a former player, a 2-time SEC Player of the Year, but you tell it like it is. And I know how difficult that can be for you, because every Saturday you got to walk on that charter and you got to pass the head coach that you're talking about getting fired and administrators and everything else. But thankfully, for the people that watch this show, you're in a position where you don't give a damn and you're just going to tell it how you see it. And people respect that. That's what you want. That's what you need. But you've been all over this. We've talked about it going back to last year. Billy got a reprieve by finishing strong late, but it just delayed the inevitable. He's not fit for this job. He was never fit for this job. And I didn't know, I knew Billy Napier's resume, and the resume said he's qualified. But what I didn't know is the personality. I think the Florida job ate him up. I think it ate him up. And he looked like a little bit of stage fright for much of his tenure. And the Florida job can do that. Let me say this. I'm tired of hearing this. I'm tired of hearing two things. Well, number one, they fire coaches every few years, so who would want that job? They fire coaches every few years because they haven't hired the right one.
That's my point. I've said that multiple. I got to go on some Mississippi shows today because I went on Steve Russell's show, which I do every Monday during football season, and I gave this explanation, being an Ole Miss guy, Mike, because I grew up going to Ole Miss games.
Oh, I know.
My whole life until my senior year.
Yeah.
I said there's no difference in the brands. I mean, there's a huge difference in the brands.
5-time Camp Player of the Year.
That's right. Matthews. Billy Brewer. He loved
Billy Brewer, Camp Player of the Year. My favorite stat of all time.
Yeah. So there's no there's no comparison in the brands. And everybody says the Ole Miss job is better than the Florida job. Well, yeah, it has been the last 7, 8, 9 years because Lane Kiffin's their coach.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Well, yeah, I think that people, first off, you got to remember, there's a lot of Florida hate out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people just hate Florida. They do not want to see Lane Kiffin go to Florida because their worst nightmare is Lane Kiffin being Spurrier 2.0 and swaggering his way to SEC championships and college football playoffs, which I believe he would do if he got the job. But let me just say the other thing that I hear a lot that I'm just like, man, this whole thing of, well, Florida sucked for 100 years. They're basically a new money program. They've only been good since the 90s. Well, a couple things. First off, they were pretty good in the 80s, too. The problem was the NCAA rolled in. Apparently, Florida was the only one paying players in the 80s. So they took away what would have been an SEC title in 84. But the players, Emmitt Smith, Wilbur Marshall, we can go on and on, Kerwin Bell, the 80s are pretty damn good to Florida. They just didn't have much to show for it. Yep. But from the 80s on, Florida has certainly had, and then there's the migration to the Southeast and to the state. So these Florida schools have never had more talent right in their own backyard because we're up to like 23 million people in the state of Florida. So, you can recruit just the state and get your fair share of 4-star and 5-star kids and be really, really good. The fan base is terrific. The money is there, and the facilities finally got upgraded. Florida's a great job. And this is no knock on Ole Miss. And I do have that Ole Miss Florida game on national radio, Elite Media Network. That's going to be fascinating for a ton of reasons. Ole Miss is a super place, but anybody who's ever been in coaching will tell you it's easier to win at Florida than it is Ole Miss. The better job, that's all matter. Like, is she better looking? Is the brunette better looking than the blonde? That's all subjective. The easier place to win is the Florida job. However, and this is something that I do think is a factor in all of this, the Florida job is also easier to get fired, right? Because this, Shane. If you go 8-4 at Ole Miss every year, you're golden. If you go 8-4 at Florida, which hasn't happened, you're gone, right? You're pink slipped. 8-4 is just not good enough at Florida. You can have a couple 8-4s. You might even get away with a 7-5. But you've got to compete for Atlanta. You've got to compete for the playoff. Billy never did that. McElwain never did that. Don't tell me about those SEC championship games. The East was atrocious. They were just a sacrificial lamb for Alabama. And then, of course, Muschamp never did that. Dan Mullen, I can justify that hire all day. We could argue it didn't work. He didn't recruit. Nowadays, it's all about money with these kids anyway. You don't have to be a great recruiter. It's just the highest price tag. But, I think Lane is a special breed that he understands it's easier to get fired at Florida. He understands it's a pressure cooker job. He understands the last 4 guys have failed. But you know what? He's got so much confidence, arrogance, whatever you want to call it. He looks at that and says, I don't care. They ain't me. I'm Lane Kiffin. They're not. And so that's where I think there's certainly, and much more than I do. You've got better sources than I do on this. I hear from both sides because I know some Ole Miss folks. Like, Ole Miss folks that write big checks to Ole Miss. But I can tell you they're a little bit nervous too.
They're very nervous.
Yes, and Jimmy Sexton, the power agent that reps Lane, he was at the Ole Miss Georgia game in Athens, and I know someone who actually talked to Jimmy and asked him about the whole situation. And as you can imagine, Jimmy was very tight-lipped. Jimmy was not saying a word. But here's the thing: here's why, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you need to be at least concerned. Indiana did what they needed to do to make sure you stopped all the rumors about Penn State and every other job. I'm sure Ole Miss, they have smart people there too that have tried to do that. It's pretty clear to me Lane does not want to close the door on Florida. Otherwise, he already would have signed a new contract. You know it's been offered. You have to believe that's been offered. So I think certainly as of right now, as we sit here on October the 22nd, Lane is very much in play.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk nationally. Right now, from a Heisman voter standpoint, I mean, who the hell are you going to vote for?
I mean, my eyes, I think I have two of them. Fernando Mendoza is certainly on that list.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that kid other than what I read in my Phil Steele magazine at the beginning of the year. And even that wasn't a whole lot. I mean, he came from Cal. Who pays attention to Cal football? But if Indiana rolls up and they win the Big Ten and he keeps doing what he's doing, I think it might be an open and shut case, quite frankly, because I don't know if there is an obvious candidate. You know, you could have made the case for Dante Moore, who I've had in a game this year. He's good, but he wasn't really good in the loss. In the SEC, by the way, you could have talked about Carson Beck before he threw 4 picks against Louisville on Friday night.
Taylor Green's had a hell of a year, but
he has, but they have the worst defense I've ever seen.
I know.
They have the worst defense I've ever seen. So who in the SEC? Like, you could make the case.
Ty Simpson, maybe?
Yeah. Ty Simpson would be on my ballot today. I think it's 18 touchdowns and 1 pick. So if he continues to roll and Alabama wins the SEC championship, he's going to get a lot of votes. There's no doubt. I think Simpson and Mendoza are probably the 2 favorites right now.
Go Gators on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plunge, says, Shane, do you think it would take making Lane the highest paid coach in the nation to bring him to Gainesville? I mean, that's going to have a lot to do with it because of Jimmy Sexton, but I'm with you, Mike. And again, this is just our thoughts because we know kind of how these kind of coaches operate, their brains operate. I mean, Lane's going to make a lot of money, whether he stays at Ole Miss or he goes to LSU, Florida,
100%.
wherever.
Yeah.
He's going to make a lot of money. I don't know if that matters to him because he has a lot of money.
This is not going to come down to money.
It's about the competition of winning at a high level.
Both schools can pay him, can make him the highest paid coach in college football, which I would not be surprised if that's what he becomes. It's not coming down to money. It's not coming down, well, they offered $2 million more than we did. No, that's not it. It's coming down to where would he rather be? Would he rather be in Oxford? Would he rather be in Gainesville? And some of that is the job, and some of that is personal lifestyle and family and all those things that, again, you know better than most.
The whole family thing, it just blows my mind because coaches move all the time.
Their family
can buy houses, big ass houses in Gainesville.
Yeah, and here's what I would say if I was on the Ole Miss show that you're going to go on today. If he leaves Ole Miss, it's not because he's unhappy at Ole Miss.
No.
I know for a fact he's happy at Ole Miss. I know for a fact he's embraced Oxford and they've embraced him. I know for a fact that he loves the job that is Ole Miss. That doesn't mean he might not love a job a little bit more. And that one job that he would leave for just happens to reside in Gainesville. So all these things are kind of baked into this equation that he's going to have to figure out.
Big game in the SEC this week. I mean, it's actually a playoff elimination game. The Missouri Tigers and the Vanderbilt Commodores.
You believe
Can
that?
you believe it?
Where are we in college football? You know, as I was studying my notes for Missouri Auburn, I took a deep dive on what Eli has done at Mizzou, and it's pretty damn amazing. It really is. Like, he's got one of the best records in college football. After, and this is going to be, and look, I'm convinced Billy would have gotten fired anyway. Here's the key with Eli Drinkwitz. He was not doing really well at Missouri. He was actually on the hot seat 3-4 years ago. They had to kick like a 55-yard field goal to beat Memphis or somebody non-con. He fired himself as the offensive coordinator. Remember that? When he got the job, he was calling the plays. And since he relinquished that, he's got one of the best records in college football of any coach. He went ahead and said, nope, I'm going to get Kirby Moore. I'm going to have him dial up the plays. I'll focus on being a head coach. And Missouri, 21 wins the last 2 years and off to another good start this year. If they go into Vanderbilt and win, and I think it's a 50-50 split game, they'll be like coasting, in my mind, with the rest of that schedule to the playoff. And Eli Drinkwitz will start. If you think he's getting like praise now, it's going to be unbelievable if he gets Mizzou to a playoff.
What game you're calling this week?
I got the Paul Bunyan Trophy, Michigan versus Michigan State. So I'll finally get to see this Bryce Underwood kid, this #1 recruit in the country, this 5-star incredible athlete that was going to go to LSU for Brian Kelly, and then said, nah, I'm good. I think I'm going to go to Ann Arbor. Now he is a Michigan guy, but Michigan should win the game. Michigan, very quietly, it's like, shh, they're sitting there. If they went out, they're in the playoff, and I'm not sure they can't do it.
What's their record right now?
They've lost 2. They've lost 2, but they're not. They don't have a bad loss, right? The Southern Cal one, that was the one that was like, but no, if they went out, they could actually make the playoff. I love rivalry games. We've had a couple here lately, and I've never done this one. ESPN doesn't have the rights to the Big Ten, so from a TV standpoint, I would never be able to do this game. But from a national radio standpoint, I get to do this one just like I did the Civil War, and I got to do Texas, Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, Florida State, Miami. It'll be intriguing, just the environment there, and all those Big Ten rivalries. They've got trophies and all that good stuff.
Andy North on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, says people forget TV shows make things emotional for good TV. I think he's referring to the Kiffin documentary. I've talked to several people that are in like your profession around the country that know way more about that kind of stuff, about documentaries and things, that they said this thing was just made to make Lane look really good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I thought it was very good.
Let me tell you something. I've said this before, so this is not a Florida thing. If Lane never went to Florida, I'll say the same thing. Lane is great for college football.
Oh, so good.
We got a lot of milquetoast personalities out there. We don't have many Steve Spurriers left. He is one. You know what I
love? We're running out of time, but you know what I love? Because I think it's him, Kirby, Sark, and maybe some other, they're all on a text feed.
Right.
With one another.
Yeah.
I just thought it was hilarious. I don't know if you saw
the former Saban guys. Yeah.
Did you see? I don't know if you saw Kirby's presser after the game against Ole Miss. He did his normal stuff. He's like, all right, thanks guys. And he took like 2 steps away from the mic, came back and goes, by the way, Lane left me 2 tickets to hot yoga.
Well, Lane called him chubby.
Yeah,
Lane called him out and said, and Lane's got he's trimmed down. He's lost a lot of weight. So he's calling out Kirby, but it's all in good fun. Those guys all respect one. If you can survive working for Nick Saban, who can really, he'll run you through the wash. If you can survive that, it's like surviving boot camp. It makes you better. It makes you stronger, and you're not fearful of anything. And both those guys have. So there's a ton of respect for one another, even after they played one another. I think it's great.
They love to take shots at one another.
Yeah,
all right, quick, answer this real quick before we get you out of here.
Sure.
Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, how do you select your national radio games?
Great question. So the ownership entrusted me to help come up with the games, and this was the first year of Elite Media Network. So we did not have the first pick at all. We didn't have the second pick. We didn't have the third pick. So I had to be very creative. It's like recruiting, Shane. I'm not going to get the 5-star. I got to find the 3-star sometimes. It's going to turn into a 5-star. And like a lot of people are wondering, how in the hell did these guys get Florida State, Miami, Oklahoma, Texas in back-to-back weeks? We were just creative. So you try to find, everybody's trying to find the best games. And some weeks we have it and some weeks we don't. There's some games I would have loved to have had, but say a Westwood 1 got. But we just try to find the best game that's out there And when I look at what we still have left, we got Texas A&M Friday after Thanksgiving. That might be the best game of the weekend, or one of them. I mentioned Ole Miss, Florida, for a lot of different reasons. Even I'm excited. In 2 weeks, we have Southern Cal at Nebraska. Shane, I've never been to Lincoln.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool.
Never done a game there. And I hear it's unbelievable. So
Yeah.
all those things go into it.
Yeah, and last thing is Dan wants to know how can they listen to it's on XM and Sirius and all that, right?
Yeah, so I mean we're on like every week it's 70 something stations. We asked, I don't know where he's listening. We asked the PD in Gainesville if they wanted to carry any. Still waiting to hear back on that.
He actually lives out in Texas and Dallas.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Well, we're on in Dallas, and we've been on in a lot of Florida markets, just not Gainesville. But if the local station doesn't carry it, you're right. We're on. If you go to EliteMediaNetwork.com, SiriusXM and TuneIn both have an Elite Media station, which is completely free, no paywall. You just go on there and you can listen crystal clear and high def, as the kids say, high def radio on that station.
Good stuff. Get well, my friend. We'll talk to you.
Thank you. I still
Mike
want
Morgan.
that shirt. I'll pay top dollar for that shirt.
We'll take care of you.
See you, Shane.
That's Mike Morgan. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of ComfortUp. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, and we stand by it. Thanks to Mike and JC. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.